I call the meeting of the Arizona Board of Regents to order. Suzanne, would you please confirm we have a quorum?
Yes, Your Honor, we do.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. This afternoon, the board will convene an executive session for ASU legal advice and discussion regarding settlement of a claim by Hun-Sun Joint Venture on behalf of their subcontractor, Shop Stealth Company, legal advice, discussion, and report on pending or contemplated litigation and related filings and matters, and for possible legal advice and discussion regarding the board's contracts with the presidents and notice of appointments for the executive director. At approximately 3 o'clock, the public portion of the meeting will resume in the Humphreys Room. On Friday morning, we will resume the public meeting at 9 a.m. and then reconvene in executive session for executive director Arnold's review of assignments. Do I have a motion to enter into executive session to discuss the items in the executive session agenda?
Chairman, so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Any abstention? The motion carries. The board will now convene in executive session.
Except the member, I list.
Good afternoon and welcome. The meeting of the Arizona Board of Regents was called to order this afternoon before convening an executive session. Today's public meeting is scheduled until 4:45. A link to the live stream of the public meeting is available on the board's website under ABOR Live or by going to YouTube and searching for ABOR News. Regent Reese, would you please lead us at the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of
America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Well, I'm waiting for Regent Penley because he is the next one. So in the meantime, I would like to welcome Regent David Zaragoza first to his full 4 meeting, and you will have two years to spend and be with us. So this will be your first experience. I would also like to excuse Chair Duval and President Crow. They both had responsibilities related to President Biden's visit and could not join us this afternoon. So they were in a very good place. So President Cruz Rivera, we want to thank you and your staff for hosting this meeting and for having us until tomorrow and having everything ready for us. And so our first item is called to the audience. And if you have any materials for the regents, please give them to our board secretary, Suzanne Templin, sitting at the table to my right, and she will distribute them to the regents. Pursuant to board policy, time has been set aside for a call to the audience. This is an opportunity for individuals to address the entire board in public setting to express their views or concerns regarding matters of board governance. The board reserves the rights to limit the number of presenters on any one topic. Regents do not respond to comments made during the call to the audience. However, we do hear your remarks and we ask the appropriate person to follow up and provide us with information on any issues raised. When you are called to speak, please proceed to the lectern. To keep us on schedule, each speaker has no more than 3 minutes. As a courtesy to each speaker, Suzanne will hold up a sign signaling how much time the speaker has remaining. At the end of your 3 minutes, we ask you to conclude your remarks. Suzanne, can you proceed? Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Regent Mata. Our first speaker is Giselle Kim, followed by Hypatia Margarita.
Hello. Hello. My name is Jisoo Kim, and I'm a graduate student at ASU. And I'm also a member of United Campus Workers Arizona and also a GPSA, which is a grad student government at ASU. I'm here today to present a statement not on behalf of all of these organizations, that's a lot of people, but rather on behalf of the Student Caucus of United Campus Workers Arizona. So last April, the graduate student governments at both ASU and UA passed legislation and made recommendations to each administration to provide comprehensive healthcare to graduate students in order to fulfill the basic human right of healthcare. However, neither university has responded with a solid answer as to what the next steps are in order to include dependent care for partners and children, in addition to expanding our coverage to include dental and vision care and gender inclusive care. The responses we have received from administrators miss the point entirely by framing the discussion solely in terms of cost, rather than in terms of providing a decent standard of living to students. According to its charter, ASU assumes fundamental responsibility for the economic, social, cultural, and overall health of the communities it serves. However, students continue to struggle economically and in terms of health and wellness, despite an increase in the health and wellness fee that was approved at the board meeting in April. According to a survey that was sent to students last spring semester, the average annual out-of-pocket cost for dental and vision care was $837. However, not all students can even give an accurate estimate of their costs because they didn't have the money to even pay it. Approximately 8,500 grad students at ASU, 75% of which are international, are enrolled in United Healthcare. There are approximately another 4,600 undergrad students enrolled in United Healthcare. Considering that the majority of students who are enrolled are international students, we also ask that insurance waiver be provided, as it has been in the past, so that international students are not forced to pay for the university insurance plan if they can provide proof of equivalent coverage. We ask that all three universities provide students with comprehensive healthcare, including but not limited to the addition of dental and vision, dependent coverage, gender affirming care, reproductive care, elective abortions, and mental health services. This comprehensive insurance should be provided to any student who's employed by the university in any capacity, that is RAs, TAs, GSAs, and student workers. The university should cover 100% of the comprehensive health insurance costs for graduate student workers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Hypatia M., followed by Haley Creighton.
Hi, I'm Hypatia Medavia. My pronouns are they, them. I'm a graduate student at ASU, and I'm part of the United Campus Workers of Arizona. So I'm presenting a statement from the United Campus Workers about the situation at UA a few months ago. Recently, someone photographed material being projected onto a classroom screen in the clinical skills immersion class in the College of Nursing at the U of A. The material described gender-affirming care for young people. Those photos were tweeted on X, retweeted by Elon Musk, and viewed by more than 2 million times. Soon after, faculty members at the School of Nursing received violent harassment, and threats against the college came in as well. By Friday, the school was having to respond to the crisis. Unfortunately, the university's response to this intimidation campaign consistently refused to support the nursing faculty curriculum. The College of Nursing does not recommend or advocate for young children to be asked gender-related questions in wellness checks, said the official statement. The college does not have a policy or position on this issue and does not integrate this type of training or education into its curriculum. In fact, the American Medical Association, the American Nursing Association, and the American School of Pediatrics, and numerous other medical associations all agree that gender-affirming care for young people, including screenings for gender dysphoria, provide the highest quality of healthcare available, according to evidence-based research. To back away from this position is to allow the bullying tactics of outside voices to outweigh the integrity of our faculty's curriculum. We believe our colleagues in the College of Nursing deserve better, and their patients most certainly deserve to receive the medical care those trained according to the highest medical standards. Last Thursday, the UCAZ received a letter from President Robbins calling for a public statement supporting the evidence-based pedagogy regarding the gender-affirming care for young people and apologizing to the faculty member whose slides were displayed over social media. Instead, administration doubled down on their equivocation, effectively caving to the intimidation campaign. We are deeply saddened to report that the nursing professor who was targeted in this campaign has now resigned from her position at U of A, citing fears caused by intimidation campaign and by the lack of support from university administration. We have lost a well-respected, professional, and well-liked member of our faculty. This is a tremendous loss to our students and to the many patients who they will go on to serve. As students, we call on ABOR to take on real action to protect the faculty at our universities who endure events of this kind of hatred. It is unacceptable for university administration and ABOR to shrug their shoulders and claim neutrality on the legitimacy and value of evidence-based research, which is taught in our classrooms. Your job is to lead, do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Haley Creighton, followed by Julian Bernhardt.
Good afternoon, and thank you, members of the board. My name is Haley Creighton, and I am the Northern Regional Director for the Arizona Students Association. A concern we brought up during a previous public comment was the lack of transparency and accessibility in these meetings, which meant many students and student groups were unable to hear about meeting proceedings and make their comments heard. On behalf of ASA, I wanted to thank the board for updating the website to make it more accessible by adding ABOR Live and creating an easy form for submission for public comment. However, we ask again that public meeting notices be posted at least 3 minutes in advance so that students may better prepare to be at these meetings. Their voices deserve to be heard. ASA supports the ask for a tri-university task force to evaluate and promote reproductive health and education on university campuses. We need the board to take the lead by providing support and guidance so that universities are not having to work on their own to keep our students safe, healthy, and represented when it comes to their reproductive rights. We would also like to bring attention to the housing issues students face. As Flagstaff Mayor Becky Daggett has mentioned in the past, we are in the middle of a housing crisis on this and other campuses across the state. In 2021, ABOR released a report stating that 14% of ASU students, 19% of NAU students, and 8% of UA students were experiencing housing insecurity. There are many different resources available to students on each campus, but they tend to be underfunded and not widely known. Action must be taken to fight this crisis and give our students stable and affordable places to live. Lastly, ASA has always been an advocate for making higher education more accessible and equitable for all students in Arizona. With the Supreme Court decision to strike down affirmative action and now recent board and university decisions to remove DEI measures from campus, we are moving backwards in this mission. To ignore race in the United States is to ignore the systems we have created that have excluded people on the basis of race for centuries. To ignore sexuality, gender identity, immigration and class status, and more is to do the same. As a Hispanic serving institute with a majority female and female identifying population, NAU should not be pandering to those who are scared of our differences. BIPOC students, queer and trans students, female identifying students, immigrant students, and all of us here deserve to feel not only safe on campus, but also like our identities matter. Getting rid of these words and their functions will only serve to empower the most hateful on our campuses and alienate those who need support the most. We are better than that. Thank you so much for your time today. ASA stands with the university unions, and we look forward to working with the board more closely on ways to abolish grad fees, protect our campus workers, and make higher education free for all students. Thank you.
Julian Bernhardt, followed by Joe Gauthier.
This thing on? Hello? There we go. Okay. All right. Good afternoon, Arizona Regents. Thank you for coming to Northern Arizona University. My name is Julian Bernhardt, and my pronouns are they, he, she. I speak to you today as an NAU student, a Flagstaff citizen, and an accomplished community organizer. And it is an honor to speak to you, and I hope that you can hear my concerns today, and that tomorrow and the days to come be that of change. I speak to you with concern for our future as an institution. As students, we are expected to learn, grow, and advance ourselves in all aspects as we embark on a new chapter into our life. Yet today, I do not feel advancement, but instead concerned about the future of DEI language, equitable care on our campuses, and silence by our leadership. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, such simple words that have brought so much chaos. Chaos that I believe that this Board of Regents has decided to cave to. The major public universities have discontinued diversity statements and job postings, and it is reported that this board has stated that they never enforced these statements. Yet in the midst of political turmoil, this board has remained silent. Silent to those asking if they will protect diversity in college campuses and in our classrooms. Today, it is job postings. Tomorrow, it is curriculum if this board does not act. As leaders of our glorious institution, I must say that silence is violence. Diversity is not a dirty word. It is a word of community. It is something to be celebrated. Yet silence from this board allows for conflict to brew, for students to feel unsure about their representation, and the state to lose its greatness in education. In the midst of affirmative action being overturned, Chair Manson states, "We are reviewing this decision of the U.S. Supreme Court, but do not foresee any impact on our institutions, our universities, forgive me." Affirmative action, which ensured a physically diverse campus, is now removed, and the board has remained silent, reviewing it. As a Latina student, first-generation college student of my family, and proud honors student, I speak as a child of affirmative action. Your silence is violent to my community. In that, I must say this board's silence is alarming, as we have previously asked for a tri-university task force to address sexual health on our campuses. I return to this board today to inform them that students again remain concerned about the lack of information available and are facing a major health crisis, not just in sexual health, but in mental health, financial health, and physical well-being. There's a sexual assault crisis unmanaged on our campuses, and medical facilities are unable to provide equitable care. But not just silence in sexual health and diversity, also in terms of making education accessible via housing. And I echo the concerns of my peers today. We cannot expect our students to achieve a diploma when they are making decisions about eating, eviction, or education. This crisis is one of many. I love this state, these universities, and the students that come here, and I affirm today that ABOR must establish a tri-university task force and to not remain silent, not just on sexual health, but on diversity, housing, and student success. I am confident that change is coming, and I must say that if it does not come from this board, it will come from the students, whose resilience matches their wit and integrity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe Gauthier, followed by Johnny Ortero.
Hello, Regents. Good afternoon, Regents, and thank you for meeting with us today and hearing our comments. My name is Joe Gauthier, and I'm a fellow with the Arizona Students Association. I'm here to talk about a few issues, mainly housing for higher education students and urging the board to increase transparency. I myself am a first-generation college student attending NAU as a part of the Western Undergraduate Exchange Program. One of the largest barriers many students from out of state and in-state face is the extreme high cost of higher education and the high cost of housing that stops many students from attending our beautiful Arizona education facilities. There are many steps we can take, including freezing tuition, lowering the overall cost of attendance, and creating more affordable housing options. When students are looking for housing, they have a few options on campus, off campus, but no matter what, they're facing thousands of dollars of charges that they cannot put on payment plans at many of our universities. Students can put tuition charges onto split up payment plans to ensure that they can cover these costs. When it comes to on-campus housing, they have no choice but to pay these full amounts upfront in thousands of dollar sums that they often cannot afford. This leads to many students taking out large student loans that will put them in debt for years to come if they continue to have to take these out to simply afford to live on campus or in the surrounding area. There is a lack of housing available for students, not just at NAU, but all across the state. And this leads to students living in houses with 8 to 10 roommates or living in unsafe living situations. Additionally, on-campus housing ends up filling up very fast. There isn't enough housing at NAU and other universities for all students to have affordable housing. Financial barriers to higher education are wholly unnecessary and are able to be fixed by the action of the board if we are to implement tuition freezes, lower costs, and build more housing for students on campus. Another primary issue I want to touch on is the Board of Regents transparency, as many students want to speak at these, but there is A, not enough time for them to, or B, no availability for them to, as these meetings are not always posted ahead of time. We ask that meetings and locations are made available at least 3 days in advance so that students can plan around their class schedules and their work schedules to come and express their thoughts to the board and ensure that they have the ability to express their voice and have their concerns heard. Arizona Students Association would love to meet and work with the Board of Regents and address these statewide student issues. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Johnny Otero, followed by Marie Amelia Matchler and Kelly Lowe.
Hello and bienvenido a Flagstaff. Members of the board, my name is Jonathan Otero, pronouns he, him, and I am a proud aspiring educator. Today, I would like to ask for your support with student teachers who are currently crying and begging for a resolution for this quote unquote teacher shortage that we have. All work, no pay is the reality for student teachers across the nation, especially those in Arizona. Next semester, I and over 250 student teachers are gonna have to either commute to Williams, Sedona, or school here in Flagstaff every day. And that is 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., all without being paid. You know, I am expected as a student to pay thousands upon thousands of dollars during this time to work for free. I am calling on you, Arizona Board of Regents, to do one of two things. Demand institutions here in Arizona to no longer exploit student teachers by paying us for our labor. Or B, support a bill in the next legislative session sponsored by Senator Mendez, where he will be addressing the need to pay student teachers once and for all. We have seen this happen in various states like Michigan, Colorado, New Jersey, and more. And so if Arizona wants to be real about addressing the needs of teachers, we must stop this pre-exploitation before the real exploitation, and that is known as student teaching. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maria Amelia Matchler and Callie Lowe, followed by Nalay Jones.
Hello, good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Maria Amelia Mackler. I use the she series pronouns, and I'm this year's student body president of NAU or president of ASNAU.
Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Callie Lowe. I also use the she series pronouns. I'm serving as this year's vice president of external affairs for ASNAU.
Our school year has just begun, and ASNAU has been mainly focusing on our energy on navigating our new restructure. Our student government has underwent a massive restructure this past year with the goal of becoming more efficient and better serve our student population needs. Some highlights of the restructure are our Vice President of Student Advocacy tasked with overseeing not only administrative relations, but also advocacy issues spearheaded by our Senate. Rather than having our senators represent colleges and schools, as they have done in the past, senators are now divided into two committees, academic and student wellness. These committees streamline projects and advocacy efforts as far more effective for real progress on student issues. Additionally, we have implemented a new vice president position that focuses on accessibility, inclusive excellence, and multicultural projects. ASNU has been working hard on initiatives to improve student life. Some priorities that we have for this year are expanding HSI initiatives to improve relationships with our students, increasing advertising of opportunities available to students, ensuring equitable and accessible access to student resources, increasing student civic engagement and voting opportunities, among other things. We're continuing past initiatives such as free sustainable thrifting closet known as Thrift Jacks, the free cap and gown closet for graduating seniors, menstrual dispensers, which we have now partnered with the university who will be managing that, and developing our medical assistance fund, and so much more. We are excited to continue and build our relationship with the student regents. I had a chance to call with Regent Reese this summer, and I'm very excited for the hopes for this year. I also recently got to meet Regent Zaragoza, and I'm very excited to see all his ideas put into action. Our executive staff and Senate are a group of very passionate individuals. Our motto is, because of the student, we exist, to which we are all ready to work for the voice of the student. It is very important to us that we make students' academic careers here at NAU a special moment in their lives. We're looking forward to a year filled with new beginnings and projects. Thank you for your time.
Our final speaker, Nalay Jones.
Thank you, Regents of the board, for being here today. My name is Nilai Jones, and I'm here with the ASA Association. I wasn't planning on speaking today, but what I have to say is such a common experience for students in Arizona that it couldn't be left out. The students, oh gosh. The Arizona Constitution states that college education should be nearly free. As a student at NAU, I had the highest merit scholarship achievable, and I received military benefits. Despite being in a financial position enviable by many of my peers, I work 50 hours a week during the school year and am barely able to cover my expenses. 40 hours of that week are working for the city here in Flagstaff. This past week, I put my entire student billing account on a credit card in order to be able to enroll in classes for next semester. I am able to stay out of student debt, but I am barely staying afloat. I asked this board, what does nearly free mean to you? For a student like me, this version of nearly free is not nearly enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Mata.
I will let Regent Manson make a comment.
So I appreciate everybody's comments, and we don't normally respond to call to the public. I do want to clarify something, however, which I think I'd like to make sure that this doesn't continue the falsity in terms of the transparency of our posting meetings. So we post regular board meeting agendas 8 days prior to the meetings, and special board meetings are posted at least 24 hours in advance. Sometimes those meetings are not called, are not scheduled until 24 hours in advance. So there is 8 days notice on regular board meetings, and I just wanted everybody to be aware of that.
Thank you, Regent Manson, and thank you all and everyone for your remarks. The the board is asked to approve the consent agenda items. On the consent agenda includes items 8 to 24. Does anyone have a conflict to declare on the items scheduled for consent? Here none. I move that the board approve items 8 to 24 listed on the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. Oppose? Any abstention? The motion carries. Our next item is an update on the 2024 Regents Cup tournament. Regent Penley, would you please present this item?
Thank you, Regent Mata. I appreciate the time to talk about the Regents Cup. I've been involved with the Regents Cup now. This will be my 5th year. And this year, Regent Goodyear and I are your board representatives working on the Regents Cup. I must say at the outset, when I say that Regent Goodyear and I are working on this, I should turn to Sarah Harper, who happens to be to my right, to the most of the audience is left here, and note that Sarah and her staff are the real people who make the Regents Cup work. She and her staff put in enormous numbers of hours to make this a success. And her group of staff are not the only ones. On each of the 3 university campuses, we have faculty members who put in many, many hours coaching, supporting, cajoling students in helping them to really be excellent participants in the Regents Cup. And as well, there are staff members on all 3 university campuses who put in many hours. This year, Arizona State University will be the sponsor. And I know Arizona State University is not going to do that, just as NAU and the U of A have done in the past, without a great deal of support from a lot of people who volunteer to make the Regents Cup successful. This year, the Regents Cup will be held in downtown Phoenix, Arizona. It will be essentially sponsored this year by Arizona State University, and will be holding the receptions, the storytelling, and the debates in the Thunderbird School of Global Management and the Sandra Day O'Connor Law School, 2 buildings that are adjacent to one another in Central Phoenix. The theme this year for our Regents Cup is democracy, justice, and the rule of law. We celebrate free speech, and the reason behind the creation of the Regents Cup was to celebrate the importance of free speech and constructive and civil dialogue. People like Regent Manson and I have been involved with this since its inception, along with Regent Karen Taylor Robeson. This approach to Oxford debate and storytelling is really a superb event. And I would encourage every regent who's here and every student who has a chance to observe the storytelling and the Oxford debates to by all means attend. It is just refreshing and wonderful. It really makes you feel good about our students and about what our three universities are doing to support free communication and civil dialogue on our campuses. I'll make a note about the storytelling, because the Oxford debate may be a little more straightforward since most of us know what debate is. But the storytelling represents very personal stories told by the students, but about the topic that we're addressing each year. In this case, democracy, justice, and the rule of law. We encourage the three presidents and the provosts whom I'm staring at across the room to really emphasize publicly the opportunity that students have to participate. Scholarships are provided by the board, $15,000, $12,000, $5,000, respectively, first, second, and third. They're not trivial scholarships. They're really good scholarships. And I know many students would like to have those scholarships to really offset the cost of their education. We honor civil discourse in the course of the Regents' Cup each and every year. And we reflect the values of the nation in what we do. Our universities have a responsibility, indeed a mission, to promote the kind of civic understanding that our students so desperately need to become fully participating citizens of our country. That's why we've instituted a change to our general education requirements and why the Regents' Cup is an annual event. Let me just note that what we do here in Arizona, which we're very proud of, is beginning to be better known across the country. Last year, one of the Washington Post columnists, Henry Olson, participated as a judge in our debates. He just didn't come and interview people. He was a judge, and he wrote a really wonderful article about what we're trying to do in Arizona. So interest has spread, and people are talking about whether other regions in the country could do what Arizona does, whether indeed we might reach the point of having even a broader debate. We already know through what's being done at our ASU's School of Civic, Economic Thought and Leadership, as well as the University of Arizona's National Institute for Civil Discourse, that people are beginning to understand the emphasis that we placed on free speech in the state of Arizona. Indeed, one of the board groups in Washington has instituted, the American Council on Trustees and Alumni has instituted debates called Braver Angels, which has spread across the country as well. And Michael Polyakov, the president of that group, comes every year and serves as a judge. And every year when I talk to Michael, he tells me what a great thing we're doing and how representative this is of what we need to do for students. This exploration and interest reinforces what we've done in this state. And this year, we'll be celebrating the 5th year of the Regents' Cup. Sarah Harper has kindly placed in front of me on the table a pin for this year's cup. And those are available to regents and everyone who participates in the Regents' Cup. And we'll also have this really beautiful coin to celebrate the 5th year. So to regents, I urge you to attend. I urge you to fully participate. And to the presidents and provosts who already have heard from me a couple of times, I just remind you, we need your support. And we need your support for the students and coaches to make this event successful. Thank you very much, Regent Mata.
Thank you, Regent Pemberley. I will make a comment. It was my first time last year as a judge, and it was very impressive to see all the students from the 3 public universities. They should all got the award, but it was only, 1, 2, 3. And yes, same as Regent Pemberley, I encourage each of our regents to participate. It's so different when we hear about that than being there. It was a long day, but it was worth. And of course, U of A got the Region Cup last time. So we'll see who is going to win the next one. So thank you for, for encouraging us. And I do the same thing with each of you and will remind them through the process until we get there. Thank you so much. Any comments or questions from the board? Okay, moving to our next item. Arizona State University is requesting authorization of settlement of claim by Hun-Sun joint venture on behalf of Schuff Steel Company. We will have Lisa Liu. Would you please present this item?
ASU seeks authorization to enter into a settlement with Hun-Sun joint venture on behalf of its steel subcontractor, Schuff Steel, in connection with a dispute regarding payments due under the contract. The claimant has claimed additional payments of $8.4 million after some mediation and further settlement discussions. The parties have arrived at the sum of $3.5 million, of which $1.8 million will come from the project contingencies. Because a board policy requires this board's approval, if we settle anything where we pay more than $50,000, we are in front of you seeking that authorization. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Lisa. Are there any comments or questions from the board? Hear none. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank
Hear
you.
none. I move that the board authorize the settlement of the claim filed by Hun-Sun joint venture on behalf of their subcontractor Schuff Steel Company relating to the structural steel work it performed on the ASU Sun Devil Stadium renovation as described in the executive summary. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Any abstention? The motion carries. For our next item, the board is asked to approve payment for achievement of 2022-2023 at-risk compensation goals assigned to the president's executive director and the EEC, and approve proposed amendments to the president contracts and the notice of appointment for the executive director. Jenny Pollock is here to present this item. Thank you, Jenny, and you have the
Thank
voice
you.
now.
Thank you, Chair Mata, and members of the board. Members of the board, each year, as you are aware, the board conducts annual performance reviews with the presidents and the executive director. And as a result of that process, the board may seek to make amendments to the president's contracts and the executive director's notice of appointment. The board may also assign achievement of at-risk compensation goals previously assigned, and then assign new goals for future at-risk compensation. The executive summary included in your materials lists the proposed achievement for the 22-23 at-risk compensation goals for the presidents, the executive director, and the enterprise executive committee. It also discusses proposed amendments to the president's contracts and the executive director's notice of appointment, as well as outlines the proposed assignment of future at-risk goals. If this item is approved, the president's contracts and the executive director's notice of appointment will be restated to include the amendments, and will include any technical or conforming changes that may be necessary. So with this item, the board office is asking the board to approve payment for achievement of the 22-23 at-risk compensation goals assigned to the presidents, the executive director, and the enterprise executive committee, approve the proposed amendments to the president's contracts and the executive director's notice of appointment, assign new at-risk compensation goals, and authorize the board chair to amend and restate the contracts for the presidents and the notice of appointment for the executive director as described in the executive summary, which includes any technical or conforming changes. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Jenny. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hear none. I move that the board approve payment for a shipment of 2022-2023 at-risk compensation goals assigned to the presidents, the executive director, and the EEC. Approve the proposed amendments to the president's contracts and the notice of appointment for the executive director. Assign new at-risk compensation goals and authorize the board chair to amend and reinstate the contracts for the presidents and the notice of appointment for the executive director as described in the executive summary, and make any necessary technical or conforming changes. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? The motion carries. Our next item is the report on the University Governance and Operations Committee meeting. As chair of the Operations Committee, I will make the report. So I want to, make a comment about when we were starting this committee, Chad, Brad, the staff, we're trying to say, okay, what would be the right name to shorten the committee name? So we talk about UGO or UGAO. And at the end, it was natural and it came back as UGO. So every time we talk about the committee, and I know they were worried about John, the executive director, like, what name are we going to call it? This is very new for all of, and as you know, so it came natural now. So whenever you hear about UGO, so you know what we're talking about. Okay. So this was the first meeting of the Operations Committee, UGO, which combined topics area from 3 former committees. It was the finance, research and innovation, and academic affairs. So we have a great meeting, and I think this new structure will be a success. And I want to thank my vice chair, Regent Pacheco, who helped us with that first meeting. The committee received a presentation and discussed survey results pertaining to employer and students' attitudes toward online degrees. So as you know, online instruction is an important element of university instruction, and every year, more students are choosing an online-only degree. There are inherent risks to university with online operations. To gauge this risk, the committee reviewed the studies from 2 market research firms on employer attitudes toward online degree holders. The studies also address online growth impacts on employers' perception of the universities. The study showed that employers generally do not discriminate between online degrees earners and in-person degree earners when it comes to hiring, salary, or promotion. The study also showed that employers gave a premium to in-person degree holders, but employers were willing to hire, pay, and promote online degree holders in a similar manner. The discussion was very helpful, and we look forward to seeing future studies. And as you know, industry, we have so many different industry, and we would like to include in the next study industry that probably have not participated, such as the military or the civil service side, so that we can have diversity on those answers. So the next, in our report, the Arizona State University provided an update of its revised general education program. ASU new general education curriculum is expected in fall 2024, 1 year from now. All 3 universities presented their annual capitals. I saw your, to both of us, right? President Crow, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for assuring that. Approval of the annual capital plans allows the committee to review the major capital projects that the university expects to begin construction on in the next 12 months. The committee recommended that the board approve all the university's annual capital plans as part of today's consent agenda. The committee then had a discussion regarding the board's IT policies and review university's request for new academic programs. ASU requested approval for 3 associate's degrees and 1 bachelor's degree in connection with FEDEN. The committee recommended that the associate degrees be offered at the ASU Los Angeles location and the bachelor's degree for all of ASU sites. Finally, the committee approved forwarding to the board for approval of NAU's request for a 1-year extension of the contract for the men's basketball coach, which takes us to our next item. I would like, is Mike Marlowe here? Yeah, okay. Vice President of Intercollegiate Athletics will present Northern Arizona University's one-year extension of the multi-year contract for head men's basketball coach.
Chair Mata, while Mike and Coach Berker make their way to the table here, I just
Okay.
wanted to provide a couple of reflections before turning it over to our Vice President of Intercollegiate Athletics, Mike Marlowe, to present the terms of the contract. As you all know, I've been here at NAU for a little bit over 2 years, and during that time, I've had the opportunity to experience many memorable moments in athletics. We have won national championships. We have won many conference championships, and we have even had historic victories against in-state opponents in football.
Still lives.
Which one?
I do carry around my commemorative 21-19 victory football from September 18th, 2021. I'll just put it here. But notwithstanding this, one of the most thrilling and memorable events I've been able to participate in as president of NAU was at this year's Big Sky Conference basketball tournament, where the NAU men's basketball team beat all expectations and advanced to the finals. The performances of that historic week are a point of pride for Lumberjack athletics, and they are a testament to Coach Berker's superb leadership and coaching abilities. So with Coach Berker at the helm, should this body approve the extension of his contract, I am looking forward to a great year ahead with wins both on the court and excellence off the court through academic achievement and community engagement, because that's what I have found during my time here is what distinguishes Lumberjack athletics. So now I will turn it over to Mike.
All right, what a great lead in. Thank you, President Cruz Rivera. Hello, Regents. When Coach Burkhart was introduced just a few short years ago to you all, he did so via Zoom. We were at the front end of this thing called COVID that we didn't quite know how to deal with. And so we had an impromptu press conference introducing Coach Burkhart, and men's basketball is indeed on a very positive trajectory. As President Cruz Rivera mentioned, we played for a championship last year. We've beaten the very best teams in the conference. Academically, twice we have been nominated by the NABC, National Association of Basketball Coaches, as a team of excellence. Since he took over, our APR has went from 935 to 978 and rising. And finally, I would point out that he does so. It's an important element of his program. We do so with more Arizona young men than any other Division I program in the state. A lot of times by a significant number. So I think that's a great attribute as well. You all received the executive summary. We are seeking to extend his contract by 1 year from March 31st of 2025 to March 31st of 2026. And Michelle or I would be happy to answer any questions.
Is there any question by the board? Regent Manson?
I'd just like to say thank you. It is really important to me and has been important since I came on the board that we focus on student athletes, and we added these requirements within the coaching contracts for academic performance and for persistence performance. And I am very, very appreciative of the job that you've done with this team and the success that you've had with it, both academically and athletically.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Any other question? Thank you, Mike. I move that the board approve Northern Arizona University one-year extension to the multi-year employment contract for Shane Borkar, hope I pronounce it right, as head men's basketball coach at NAU as described in the executive summary. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Any abstention? The motion carries.
Thank you.
Our next item in the.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you. The next item in the report is the Strategic Initiatives and Planning Committee. Regent Manson, have you thought about any?
My only hope was that it did not end up being the spit committee. So
The floor is yours.
it doesn't really flow, but whatever. We did have our first strategic initiatives and planning committee. I can't even say it. Discussion at our very, very first meeting. And we took on the robust topic of university mission differentiation. I mean, this has been something that we have been talking about for years. And I thought it was an appropriate kickoff topic for our first meeting. One never knows how these kind of open-ended discussions will go. And there was a little bit of a slightly deathly silence at the beginning. But once we got moving, it really, really took off. And it was a very far-reaching, lengthy and varied conversation about mission differentiation and what that means in the state of Arizona and what it means elsewhere in the country. So I'm very appreciative to all of you for kind of stepping out of the comfort zone and having a open discussion about what is a very important topic to us. A lot has changed in higher education nationally and in Arizona over the past decade. And we've looked at, we talked about the rise in online education, the demographic cliff of available high school seniors that's coming at us, a major decline in community college enrollments, the collapse of a number of for-profit colleges, and the continued focus on those. Phoenix's continued population growth and the urbanization of Arizona into major population centers, rising enrollment and graduation trends in Hispanic students and other underrepresented groups, the initiation and the funding of the Arizona Promise program, and kind of persistently flat college going rates in Arizona, even with the efforts that we have made as a board and as the universities to encourage that. We also recognized that the Arizona public higher education system is organized differently than almost any other state, with 3 large public four-year institutions. Our system is unusually consolidated. Most other states have 10 to 15 different types of universities and colleges. They'll have state universities, they will have a state college system, they'll have community college systems, and those are often run separately by different organizations. So our consolidation offers some significant benefits in some ways. It also, in particular in economies of scale and learning from each other and the things that we do well and things that we can improve on. It does necessarily almost encourage a type of limitation on institutional diversification. And in some sense, it thereby limits student choice in the type of institution students have to choose from within the state. So bearing all of this in mind, the committee and the 3 presidents discussed the Arizona Public University System's design and evaluated the need for further differentiation among Arizona's public universities. The presidents identified a number of both potential opportunities and some significant barriers to the differentiation. And as always, the most significant barrier to new initiatives is appropriate resources. So it was a great conversation. It left us with, I think, a number of things on our plate to pursue. And so I have asked John and the ABOR staff to work on the following items for our next meeting. I'd like to have, and John can establish a working group with some expertise in areas. He can use staff. It's a very kind of open-ended request using expertise that we can find in the areas. I'd like to confirm and solidify the direction of the differentiated NAU mission within the Arizona higher education market. I don't question that. I just want to make sure that we continue to define it and understand what those decisions mean for us. Those would include discussions and information on the statewide presence, the community college partnerships, and the future of the current admissions pilot program. I'd like them to discuss the status of the current UA strategic plan and investigate opportunities for mission differentiation at U of A. And really important to all of this is a discussion about the university business models and how they impact the differentiated missions of the universities. And so in particular, discussion and information around the balance of international, out-of-state and resident student populations at each of the universities and the relationship to necessary funding levels. So we will have a follow-up discussion on the differentiation topic at the next strategic planning committee meeting. The main topic of conversation for that meeting, however, will be a conversation on K-12 readiness. And I'm going to ask the committee members and the university staff to come prepared to discuss how we measure K-12 readiness and the steps that we as the universities can take to improve our student pipeline. And that
Thank you,
concludes
Regent
my
Manson.
report.
Thank you, Regent Manson. So we will now move to the student regents report, and Regents Reese and Zaragoza, please proceed.
Thank you, Chair Mata and Regents, and thank you to NAU for hosting us this week. Regent Zaragoza and I are happy to report on current campus updates and talk about the student experience and student perspectives today during our student regent report. But first, with this being Regent Zaragoza's first full board meeting, I will let him introduce himself more formally.
Thank you, Regent Reese. Good afternoon, Chair Mata, Regents, and members of the audience. With this being said, I hail from Yuma, Arizona, the winter lettuce capital of the world, and the only reason we have anything green to eat during Christmas. Both my parents attended the University of Arizona, and as such, unlike President Cruz Rivera and his football, I have nothing but love for Tucson and the wonderful staff there. At the moment, I am seeking an undergraduate degree in electrical engineering, which has been a very enriching experience. These past 2 months on the board have shown me that there is much to learn regarding the administration of a public university system, and I am eager to see where the next 2 years will lead.
Well said, Regent Zaragoza. I am most certain you will learn so much and represent students well. Turning to some updates, Regent Zaragoza and I have actively been communicating with student leaders and student governments on campus in anticipation of the Student Leadership Summit we plan to lead this year. We really value hearing from as many students as we can, and in order to be good stewards of the many different student experiences and student perspectives on our campuses.
In addition to the summit, which Regent Reese mentioned, I am happy to say that I had my first meeting with the Council of Presidents at Arizona State University this past Monday. It was a pleasure to meet the student body presidents from the downtown, Polytechnic West, and graduate student bodies. And we discussed some of the ongoing ASU health initiatives. It was delightful to see the thoughtfulness and sincerity with which they approach these efforts. So their individual policy-making efforts were also incredibly intriguing. Such as the implementation of fresh food vending machines at the ASU West campus and the unification of election timelines between the graduate and undergraduate student bodies. Our time together demonstrated to me that these 5 student leaders will do an outstanding job shaping the student body experience across their campuses this year.
Thank you for the update, Regent Zaragoza. This past committee meeting signified the start of our new committee structure, and I know I speak for both Regent Zaragoza and myself when I say that it was a very exciting and engaging dialogue. We appreciated the opportunity to speak on university differentiation, and we look forward to sharing more of the student perspective. Speaking of students, being back on our campuses has been very exciting, and I can confidently say that the campuses have been busier than ever. The sense of community and pride on campus has been tangible, and our new classes boast unique backgrounds and bright futures. We are very proud to represent Arizona Public Universities and very grateful for this opportunity to be a voice for students. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, both Regents Reese and Zaragoza. Without you both and without the student regents, it's like you guys are inside of our campuses and you can speak louder, you know, and represent them. Thank you so much for your report. So our final item for today is the report from the Arizona Faculty Council. So we will have Professor Dolling, and you can proceed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dear Regents, Presidents, and guests, as always, the faculty of the 3 universities extend a warm welcome and appreciate this opportunity to meet with you, sharing positive developments as well as concerns. Tuition remains an important topic for discussion, and while we cannot affect the cost of attendance to our universities, we hope to move the dial for students by urging ABOR and the legislature to continue to support students faced with soaring housing costs and food insecurity. A recent statistic is that 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. You can imagine a student's plight might be even more challenging. We support university-hosted food pantries on our campuses and working more diligently to find affordable housing to accommodate students. We know this is of concern to the board. The AFC has addressed this issue with the board numerous times. We feel it would be useful to do a follow-up survey this year to the excellent student and housing insecurity report done by the student regents to learn what is working at the three universities to alleviate student hunger and housing challenges. We continue to have concern over backlash about DEI and free speech issues at all three universities. Each of our university has experienced this, from ASU and the Lewis Center to UA and text taken out of context in a school presentation that became viral, to articles written about NAU's efforts to include diversity courses in the required curriculum. The move to restrict the body of knowledge presented to our students is antithetical to everything a university stands for, and we hope for your continued support in promoting our universities as places of learning with fidelity to history, truth, and scholarship. There was an excellent discussion, as was mentioned already, regarding mission differentials held at the Strategic Initiatives and Planning Committee meeting on September 14th. Thank you for starting the conversation between the three universities. We believe it's essential to have a broader discussion about what makes each university unique, both at the graduate and undergraduate level. And how can we best serve the different populations in our state? We look forward to being part of that conversation. We all need to address the fact that only 47% of students in Arizona go on to college. This must be remedied, not only for the future of our higher education institutions, but for the economic health of our state. We cannot advance Arizona without an educated workforce. We would like to suggest a convening of stakeholders from the three universities to seek solutions to this challenge. This meeting should include presidents, the Arizona Faculty's Council, members of the Arizona Board of Regents, students, and community members. And what would a report be without AI? Generative artificial intelligence is increasingly becoming part of our educational landscape. From initiatives described in our June ABOR report till now, huge strides have been taken to both understand and utilize AI, as well as gain a deeper understanding of its pitfalls. ASU has mounted an excellent self-paced Canvas course on AI for faculty and is forming student discussion groups to help them understand the ramifications of its use, both good and bad. I intend to ask if we can share this course with all three universities, possibly community colleges, and of course the board. U of A and NAU have been strategizing and developing workshops and forums for faculty that will occur during the year. One of our greatest challenges is ensuring that students own their work. Are there any questions on anything before I wrap it? No, nobody's
any comments or questions from the board? No?
Nope. All right, well, to echo what Regent Reese said, we are all encountering excited and engaged students this fall. We're back. In-person class attendance is up and it feels like we are fully back. The faculty of all three universities are committing to ensuring the best outcome for all our students, and we look forward to a great academic year. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Professor Dolling. So this concludes today's agenda. I have a few announcements before we recess. The faculty breakfast is scheduled at 7:45 tomorrow morning in the Avenue Fremont room. Following the faculty breakfast, the board is scheduled to reconvene in public session at 9 a.m. in the Humphreys room. At 10:40, the board will reconvene in executive session for a review of assignments with Executive Director Arnold, and the board will adjourn immediately following executive session. Thank you. The board is now in recess.